So as we think about the beginning of that journey when you're reviewing those resumes,
Mhm.
what are some of the things that stand out to you these days if you had, 10, 20, 30 seconds to review a resume that make you say, I'm excited about this candidate and we should talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm looking for is fit for this role. So am I seeing the signals that I was like really explicitly putting out there in the JD? Am I seeing that reflected? So have they seen these types of problems? Have they worked with these types of users? Um, are they highlighting the user impact as well as the business impact? Because as PMs, like those that we need to hit both, right? Um, what did you own and what changed because of that, basically? So it does need to be very scannable. But the signal that I really care about are like metrics, ownership, and outcomes that you drove. I also actually want to highlight for resumes in particular, I think we kind of touched on referrals, but referrals do help in that like it pretty much guarantees a review. But similarly, like we still look through, we really try to look through every single resume and like get through until we have like a good critical mass. And maybe a bit different than what I heard from, I think, Chantal, but we actually will continually like review resumes and like continue to put people into the pipeline until we have like an offer accept. So I think like obviously for like time optimization, we do try to like group people, but we don't like stop looking at resumes or anything like that just because we have like a healthy pipeline.
Awesome. Stephanie, while I have you, before we keep going, do you have is more than a one-page resume a red flag for you at all?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, some resume red flags for me would be the use of the term product owner instead of product manager, because those are two distinct roles. It would be a lack of metrics. It would be like multi-page resumes, which like I empathize because, I used to work in government, and in government, actually, they like you should optimize for having a really long resume, which is a strange thing to begin with. So I get like, and in Europe, CVs might look different. And I do hire globally. So like I empathize, but it is just so much easier when it is one page. So maybe it's like a yellow flag because I then have to be like, wait, what's the context here? And then, but please, with AI, you can make it one page. Just make sure it's true.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. Chantal, did you want to maybe anything to add on your end for what you're looking for in a stack of resumes?
Yes, and I have a lot of pet peeves at the moment. So the first thing I would say is when the LinkedIn doesn't match with the resume. So going back to the title and what the company said, but I think it's very important that you don't enhance the truth a little too much. So if I go to your LinkedIn, it says you're a senior director, or like you're a PM level one, and then your resume, you're a senior director working consumer products, but your LinkedIn, you are not even in consumer products, that is going to be a red flag. So ensure that whatever you're optimizing for on your LinkedIn and your resume match. Another thing is I like to say one page on your resume for a decade of work. So if obviously you've worked for 20 years, maybe one page is not too much. And I like to see like 3 or 4 bullet points on the most recent experiences and the less volume as you go back in time. So that's usually how I like to see it. I also think that a great resume that can actually like show me the information I need is going to tell me a lot about the PM. Like actually your resume is a lot more than a resume, right? If you're not able to articulate in a crisp manner and show the right information, that's telling me actually you do not know how to prioritize. You do not know how to maybe explain things in a clear, crisp way. You know what I mean? So your resume is saying a lot more than you think. Similarly to Stephanie, I don't spend more like 30 seconds. Usually, what I like to see is when there's a soft introduction, if there's someone who refers me, the why you want to join. Why are you a fit? So if you get introduced, instead of being like, okay, here's my resume, thank you for the intro, I would say, use that moment to do your quick, what I call the cover letter 2.0. Can you just give me 3 bullet points of why I should hire you? Right. So I have worked, like if I'm looking for a messaging AI role, right? I've worked an AI messaging role. Actually, this is the link of the prototype. Here's the article on TechCrunch about it. And then, I've managed 3 people. Great, because this person needs to manage, right? So tell me in 30 seconds before I even open your resume, give me that appetizer in the restaurant, kind of like that first snack. So that is one thing I would recommend. And I cannot empathize enough in this market. The referrals matter a lot. So network before you need it. Start talking to people. Start showing interest. Comment on their posts on LinkedIn. Whatever it is that you need to do to create a networking opportunity for you, start doing that now, not when you job hunting. So whenever you job hunting, you actually have connections and you can ask someone to refer you. Because to Nikki's point, we have 1,000, 2,000 applications, and it's very hard to stand out. It is not just the quality of the resume. And the last thing I would say is whenever the job description opens, apply quickly. I know it's hard and there's a lot of applications, but unfortunately, I may not have time with the recruiter to go through 3,000. The energy goes down as you go through more and more resumes. So actually those referrals or really applying early will be a great thing for you.
Awesome. I love it. Nikki, what are you looking for in some resumes?
Yeah, so I think all of both of what panelists just said is really good advice, honestly. I also prefer a one-page resume because I think it forces brevity and it forces you to be really succinct and only say the things that are the most important things. And I think there is a good litmus test you can give yourself when you're creating your resume, and it's like, I call them the MITs, the most important things. And you don't know every detail that you did in your job, but like doesn't matter. You're going to pull out the things that are the most relevant and that matter for the role that you're applying for. Some of the things I look for and I love to see are, I like metrics. Like if you drove impact or if you made a business impact, putting that on your resume really stands out to me. And so just being really clear about the impact you drove when you worked on a thing. Also, I want to know exactly like the product surface that you worked on. People like, this is maybe my red flag or pet peeve on a resume, is they'll be like product owner who managed multi teams across multiple surfaces. And I'm like, what did you do? I don't even know what that means. And so maybe there's a test where you run it by your mom, and if she doesn't understand what you put on there, like I'm not going to understand it either. And so just keeping it really simple. Also using ChatGPT is really good at giving feedback on these types of things. Upload your resume and be like, I'm applying for this job at Duolingo. Here's what they say is important. How would you tweak this resume to make it more relevant? And then maybe add a line that says like, it still needs to be true. You need to make sure don't lie. You don't want to over embellish because you still got to do the job if you get hired. But ChatGPT can give you really good feedback. And it's just a really tight way to just, again, you just really want to boil it down to like, what is the most relevant, most important? And then when I'm looking at 1,000 resumes, how does that make yours stand out? And it actually, I think it makes a huge difference. And also just is a tool that shows me how you communicate. And so I think being really good at just kind of getting to your solid punch points makes a huge difference. And then I just want to plug referrals too. I agree that like starting to work on your network, especially if you're early in career, it pays off in spades later on. And so that can be just like, if you're at a job today, it's just getting to know the people you work with. So when they go on to other things, you have a connection you can keep. Or it can be doing things like, meeting people on LinkedIn, posting on people's posts, saying hello. At this point on LinkedIn, I get probably, I don't know, maybe like 30 or 40 requests a day. And so I'm not really in my DMs, but I do definitely engage with people when they post on the content that I create. So I think that's an easy way to just kind of get your name out there. But yeah, that's it for me. That's a lot.
And Nikki, just to confirm, are you always looking at the LinkedIns alongside the resumes, or is the resume basically the main thing you look at?
When people apply typically and they come in through our application process, it's resume that gets pulled out. I think when we also do a lot of sourcing, meaning our recruiters will go out and they'll find people on LinkedIn and talk to folks. And so when those people come to us, typically that's through a LinkedIn profile. And I think, LinkedIn is basically just your resume, but like in LinkedIn format. And so making them be as close as possible, I think makes a ton of sense.